Bing, 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 bing. Here we are. It's the async voter meeting. We've got Sam and Paola and Stella, and it's been a few weeks. I was away. There was like national holidays here in the UK. We are back. We have kind of, I think, two things. One is that, well, what Michael and Paola and I did one time before is we got the new kind of microservices architecture with the voter talking to the RESTful API working, and we saw that working kind of like on the staging server, and then that was kind of a bit of a hacking session, and then we had another hacking session where we got the, oh gosh, what was it? We got the tests also working, and got very confused with the knock mocking system, and then realized that actually Brent had written some much better tests, and we've now merged them in. And so it's kind of clean up from there, I guess. There's also the link that I was posting. There's a blog post about somebody who started actually making some money out of a Slack bot. I sort of, it would be interesting to make the async voter available to more people. I don't really imagine we'll ever make a lot of money out of it, but hey, you know, stranger things have happened. Let me see. Paolo, do you have a strong sense in your mind about where we were and what we were doing before we kind of had that break?
Not really that fresh, but I seem to remember more or less what where we are, because I did the last changes to the actual Slack command part of it, where I added those 3 calls to use the external database to save.
Right.
And I think that's where we are, I guess, because all the other sessions, like you mentioned, we kind of managed to get this to work, and then also the testing with Brent, I think I missed that. So yeah, that's where we are. It kind of should be more or less working as required, as expected.
Yeah. And then my memory is that we were gonna, that what we might have done is talk about the different testing strategies, and that was what we were kind of planning to do in the last session. And then we got sidetracked because the tests were not working as we expected. Here is the code. But this is the code for the async voter Slack command. I noticed that I've got a series of changes kind of locally here that I assume was me playing around last time, trying to get everything to work, and like playing around with the version of this library knock and other little bits of this testing setup. Yeah, I don't know if I need to check those in order to ensure that those tests work. The interesting thing about this project, Stella, that you're probably not familiar with. So we've got a number of different repos. So the async voter Slack command is the one. It runs a little web server. It is then the thing that Slack talks to. So when we have these Slack votes in Slack, where you press, you know, simple, hard, medium, what have you, this is the app that manages that. And so we've got here, like, this is the main index.js is the main thing for this. And by default, we've got it set up here that it will talk to the this API test system. Yeah, and then the main code, asyncvoter.js, this is all the code that handles all of the voting coming in. So then we have, so that's that kind of works standalone. It doesn't necessarily need any other code. It uses a Redis cache to store what people have voted and the votes that are in play. We've then also got another repo called the Async Voter API client. I guess we should probably do with a diagram of all of these things. And this was the one now, git status here, git pull origin develop branch. Probably the thing to do is to look at that because as we were in the process of trying to track down the bug in the test last time, we that's not what I wanted. We were kind of, I think we were getting stuck against sort of error messages, and so API Slack. Oh gosh, what's it called? AsyncVoter API client. Here we go. So I guess the thing that we might do, Paolo, to begin with, is just check that you've got the latest, that we've both got the latest code for this async API client, and that the latest of Brent's new tests are running on our local machines. Does that make sense as a first step?
Okay, sure. I'm going to.
And Stella, if you want to check this out locally and follow along, I'll post the links to these different pieces in the chat there. So the AsyncVoter API client is a client library that talks to the AsyncVoter API, which is then wraps a Mongo database and provides kind of like an endpoint against which to store data. And I guess that argument may come around to like, why are we not just using Firebase or something for this? But anyway. So what I'm doing on my side here is, I guess should I open this one? So this is the client. And so Brent had sort of a manual testing thing just for sort of hitting it. And then it's got, now this is this much more involved specs for the story and the vote. And I guess we're still on, I'll run npm, we shouldn't need to install anything new. Yeah, okay, that's interesting. I guess we don't, do we not have a package lock? We don't. Okay, and that should be committed. We're trying to get up on the latest versions of Node. Let's do npm test here. Yeah, and so all the tests are passing there from you locally on the develop branch. So that's nice. And so Paolo, you're just...
Am I sharing the screen?
Yeah, you're sharing your screen. Yeah, and we can see you navigating to Agile Ventures there. And I guess, you're trying to get into the AsyncVoter API client.
CD AsyncVoter API client.
So you're on the branch 6, which is now being merged. So you could do, well, I get, would you know how, because one of the things, so you're a very experienced coder, but Git is still relatively, if you wanted to switch to the develop branch, do you recall how to do that, Paolo?
No, but I have a basic thing like checkout. I could do checkout. Maybe.
Yeah. Checkout is in fact the one. Yeah, so you do git checkout, and then the branch name in order to switch from one branch to another. Yeah, so git checkout. And develop is the one that we happen to be using at the moment. Yes. So it's switched over there, and that's interesting. It's saying your branch is ahead of Origin Develop by 1 commit.
I had this test.js, I think.
Yeah, and so that's like, you've got like a local change. If I was you in this situation, I would be tempted to type git diff, so git space diff, and it will show the difference between the branch that we're on and any local changes that you have that haven't been committed, and there. So you can probably see, maybe is it just a bit of indenting that's changed there?
I guess. Yeah, I mean, nothing.
Nothing significant.
I should just revert changes for this file, right?
Yeah, you could just in fact do git checkout test.js, and it will just go. Then you'll have no local changes. And then I would be tempted to do git pull origin develop. But it's interesting. It seems, well, actually, even before you, we'll try that. It'll probably tell you that there's a conflict. But let's see if you do git pull origin develop. Let's see what it says. No, okay. Already up to date. And do git status again now. That's interesting. Do git log. It's still telling us that the branch that we're on is ahead of origin developed by one commit. Let's have a look at the. I'm going to do the same command on my machine, git log, and so that's interesting. You've got there. Yeah, I mean the commit numbers that we're on are slightly different. Yeah, you've got that commit there. 521C9. It's a bit difficult to read on your one. That's funny. We seem to have, like, the latest commit for me on develop is I've got merge pull request number 8 from the branch 6 implement client tests. Have you pressed space there and scroll down? Is that the very, you hit Q and then hit?
I have. I think I have.
Yeah, hit Q, and or you can scroll back up to the very.
Yeah, this is,
there we go.
First one. This one here, Monday, January 15th, update base URL test.
Yeah,
March.
weird. Because like there, and the one behind it, you've got. I mean, you've got. That's really strange. Like, so I'm just looking at that. You've got a series of commits there that are all from like January, and I've got. We're both in AsyncVoter API client. I thought we're both in develop. It certainly looks like we are, but it. Oh, hey Stella, bye for now. It kind of looks like, I don't know. I mean, all of mine, like the last 6, 7 commits, are all from March, and they're all kind of. I don't know if that's like git log. Just to, if you do, do you want to do git status again from the?
Do I do Q here?
Yeah, Q to get out of that environment there.
Which one, Git?
Git status. I guess what git does not tell us the. On branch develop, your branch is ahead of origin by one. I think that the only thing that would explain to me what you've got there is that somehow your develop branch has been merged with another older branch. I don't know. I don't know if you've got. If you run, I guess if you run, if you run, is it npm test? No, it can't be npm test. Is that right?
Yeah, maybe npm run test.
I'm just getting. What did I just run to run the tests? I'm getting confused. Oh yeah, it's npm test. Or I think run test or just test. Okay, so like you've only got 8 tests there.
Yeah, I'm definitely behind, but maybe I'm not pointing to the same.
Yeah, do git space remote space -v.
Sorry, where's V here? Oops, got git. Because I remember you did something.
Yeah, so you've got a thing there where you're pointing to it. It's like a fork. So what you need to do, so this, if you're working off a fork, right? So you've got your VR garage fork there. So what you need to do now is you need to update the develop branch on your fork to be the same with the upstream. So
yes.
In order to do that now, I would start probably by doing git fetch upstream. And that'll just mean that it won't change any of the code on your drive there. But in the git folder, it will like pull everything, all the branches and everything that exists in the upstream repo so that it's available to you now locally. And what you could do here is you could do git pull upstream develop.
Sorry, upstream is like where you guys put your stuff.
Yeah, that's
Or
the main Agile Ventures repo. Yeah.
okay, so I've downloaded all the different branches and now upstream. Oh, okay.
So depending upon various that it might work, it might get a conflict. It's no, it's kind of pulled it all in. Yeah, and now you could run npm tests, and we would maybe see the same stuff here. We didn't have to do the interesting. You probably need to do npm I first. You need to like do the install, because there may have been just that one. An npm test. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I mean, no, but could not find any test files matching. That's interesting. There's a spec directory. Yeah, do you want to open the code in an editor? Or yeah, ls spec story? Yeah.
API client. I mean, yeah, I can open it. Well, should have found these.
Yeah. I mean, I can only imagine there that there's like some versioning issue that's maybe preventing it from work well. So what I can do here is I've got this package lock of all the stuff that I've installed. So I could do here git commit -am add package lock. Oops, I'm going to git add first. What version of Node are you on?
I don't know, NVM. You know what?
Or NVM list, if you do, because NVM version will tell you the version of the node, potentially the version of the node version manager. But if you do NVM list, that tells you you're on 7.4 there. Yeah, I'm on 9.5 here now, but let's not worry about that too much. I would be tempted there if I were you to do NVM use 8.5. Might need the 0.0. No, it's clever. It's cleverer than RVM. I've just pushed up a lock file to the develop. So you could do another git pull up when that, assuming that completes. You could do git pull upstream develop again.
I should get your npm update, npm install.
Yeah. So what you should get is now the package lock.json, and you could do npm space I now.
Well, I have to remove my local npm log file.
No, because I think you didn't have a lock file. There wasn't a lock file in the repo.
No, but I create one as I do install myself.
But only for the more recent versions of Node. In the older versions of Node, that doesn't happen.
Oh, but okay, no, I have.
You've got it there now because we've pulled it off. Yeah, if you'd had it already, there would have been a conflict when it tried to pull it off the upstream. But
maybe I did not have it. I guess
because I didn't have it until I ran with this. But yeah, and you can just do npm I. You don't have to type the full install, but a little shortcut.
Added to packages. So
there you go, and it's done some stuff. So then you could try npm test again. I mean, I don't know if it will work or not. Worth a try, but still no. So I assume that's maybe some win, like, because previously the tests ran, didn't they? And I guess that was before that there was like.
Okay, now I know why. I think I know why.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe with my node window, command prompt different. So to the AsyncVoter API client. Now I can try npm test. Oh.
mean, I think what's changed since last time is that Brent's introduced like subdirectories that the tests are in. And I wonder if this is like, you know, the way it's specifying the match is not working for Windows there.
Okay, yes, I see. The double star thingy.
But so I mean that's something to what we should probably do before we get into that is, so you've now got the latest code on develop on your local machine, but it isn't up on your repo. So you could just on there you could do git push origin develop, and that will mean that your fork in the VR garage will now also have you know, the latest develop thing. To be honest, you know, given that we trust you and we give you, I mean, there's no question, you know, probably simpler ultimately for you to work just directly off the Agile Ventures repo. I don't know. It's good to learn about the whole forks.
Yes, no, it's good. It's good to know. I'm learning slowly a little bit.
Yeah, I'm just looking here about this Windows. What is it? This is like Mocha file match syntax. It's not really Mocha, is it? It's like Node. I have like a little Mocha's glob behavior. Here we go. Did somebody have? I have a feeling like at some point we saw this problem on Windows. It is Mocha, in fact. It's not. But I guess we maybe tests are broken in Windows. Yeah, I can't immediately find a fix for it. That's annoying if that doesn't. My imagination. There's a recursive flag. You could try on line 7, just adding like hyphen recursive in between the word Mocha and the test matching thing that it's got there. Is there something else odd there that we're not?
I guess no.
And the spec dot slash. I mean, you could, for example, just actually as a sanity check, you could replace the star with the word story. Oops. And let's just check that it like actually runs the.
Yeah.
One thing. That's interesting.
Spec story star.spec.js.
Yeah, I guess you could even replace the other star with the word story. Is there like, and you're running it on a Node.js command prompt within, right?
Yeah, it's the same place. F Agile Ventures AsyncVoter API client.
Yeah. And I wonder if it needs like the Mocha on Windows. I wonder if it needs like the Windows syntax, like the things need to be escaped or something. What happens if you just type Mocha at the command line there and you just run it?
Okay, this didn't even work. This we tried now, didn't we?
Yeah, just type Mocha. The
Just here, okay.
Yeah, just type Mocha and
No, so I haven't installed it as like globally command line. Is that?
yeah, that shouldn't be the. Go back to the package.json file that you have in the background there, and we've got. It's just trying to call Mocha, but I guess it's doing it within the. What you could try is probably within the package.json, it's added like the binary, like node modules binaries to the path.
Yeah.
So you could just go back to the command prompt there, and you could type whatever it is like if you want to run a file, like go node modules slash, and it's going to be not in. I think it's going to be node modules. No, well, you could try that, yeah, and see what happens if that just runs. I mean, I think you want to be in node modules slash dot, but do node modules and then slash dot bin. I think dot bin and then slash, and then there might be a Mocha in there. Mocha command even. I don't know. Hit tab. I mean, it's yeah, whatever's in there.
There's both probably.
Yeah, and maybe the CMD is needed for Windows. Who knows? I don't know. Just hit return and just like we'll try both of them. There you go. Okay, so that at least tried to run one, and then you could try now passing, like forget the dot slash, but you could pass to that whatever, like the Windows effective command to. We want to run everything in the spec directory, so. I mean, I guess the question there is like, does dot slash correspond to the current directory? I don't know. I mean, can you hit tab there? Does it autocomplete, or just type the word spec and?
It is also completing.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, cool.
So spec, and then there's the star.
Yeah, spec, and then I mean, you could just try running a single file first, even before we just autocomplete, so that we make sure that we are hitting a.
So all past these were story.
Okay.
Spec story. And
okay, yeah. So then you could try gradually inserting the wildcards.
Okay, for example, I could do vote star. Oops. No,
star.
Like star. And like the star. Oh. Oh, maybe I have to extend this. I had it. Oops. Vote slash star
dot spec.js.
Okay, so probably I can even do story star.
Or even just try with star there.
Yeah, I think star is likely maybe to be the problem. So yeah, it's fine. And now star. It's working now.
Yeah, so I'm reading stuff online that says that it all should work on Windows. But anyway, so at least we see there that the 31 is passing. We could try on that one removing the recursive. And yeah, go back to the save that and go back to the here. So it tells us Mocha, and the error message could not find any test files matching pattern /spec/story to story.spec.js, but we know that it exists there. The single quotes around it are supposed to make it like the correct, thing. You could like remove the single quotes and change the backslashes so that the forward slashes so that they're backslashes. I have a feeling that that might make it work.
Let's try this first. Just
Okay, sure.
Okay, no, this is working with the
Okay, interesting. That's funny because the single quotes are supposed to make it work cross-platform, but it seems to be doing. I mean, although I guess here you're running it in Node.js rather than that Node.js command prompt. Yeah, who knows? Anyway, so you could try replacing like the story with the star and the star and the star, and then
maybe it works now.
And then maybe that npm run test will work for you there.
It should be 31 of them.
Yeah. What happens if you try running now in the other window that you were in before? I mean, that was also not working. That's in, oh, you're in, is that Sigwin or what's that one?
This is a min GW64.
Yeah.
It's a Git
right.
bash.
Git bash, yeah. Well, anyway, work. I guess the presence of the single quotes, yeah, weird. Anyway.
Okay, well, so should I go ahead and check this in?
You certainly could do on yours. I guess the interesting thing to do is on my side is like, what happens if I remove the quotes?
Yes.
Like, because if it runs for me without the quotes, then they seem to be unnecessary and we don't need them. And then you could check that in. Yeah, it worked for me.
Okay, then well, I guess you can go ahead and remove them. Or
yeah, oh well, it's a good practice for you. Maybe like now. So okay. Say that you wanted to make this change available to everybody. What are the steps that you would do now?
Okay, so remove quotes from notepad test script npm.
Yep.
And I go ahead and do that.
Yeah, do that.
And then I guess I do a git.
You missed. No, you missed. Hit the up key because you did the -am, but you need the command in between git and -am. So you need commit to git commit and then space -am.
Okay, so I committed now and I can push it. Git push. Where do I want to push it?
So you could do git push origin develop. So this would be the simple thing now of you push it to your fork.
Okay, so origin is mine, whereas yours is the
upstream. But that's just a convention. So like, it's a convention that origin points to like your thing, and the upstream points to the parent repo. But if you do that git remote -v, basically you're actually free to map the names, any name, to any repo.
Yes,
so,
I've seen you create the
right,
giving them the names.
Yeah, so don't assume, you know, that's always like a sanity check. You know, don't assume that what origin upstream necessarily are, particularly if you're in some, you know, remote environment. But so now, oh, go on.
Okay, no, in your conventions, that's what it is. Origin would be my own GitHub repository, and upstream is the Age of Ventures repository.
Yeah, and that's a common convention that a lot of people use.
Okay, so I've pushed them to my origin, my GitHub repo.
Right, so that it now exists on your repo, but it's not on the Agile Ventures upstream repo.
Yes, should I push it from here as well? Is that how?
Well, depending on permissions, you may or may not be able to push it onto the upstream. Usually, if you've got a fork, that's probably because you don't have permit. Like, so if there's just a random open source project and you forked it to make a contribution, it's probably the reason that you have the fork is that you don't have direct permissions. If you do have direct permissions, you could be doing git push upstream develop, but given that you have the fork, this is a good opportunity here to maybe see how to do a pull request.
Sorry, and have the fork means that?
Well, to have the fork means that, so the VR Garage AsyncVoter API client is a fork of Agile Ventures AsyncVoter API client, right? Which means that probably at some point in the past on GitHub, you press the button saying fork. So if we go and look at, yeah, here we go. Here's the API. Here's the client one. We go. If you look at my screen here. So yeah, at some point in the past, you will have pressed this button here.
Okay. To fork it, actually.
Yeah. And then that will have created the fork. So the fork thing is specific to GitHub and like now other people who like it's not something intrinsically like the word forking is not intrinsically part of Git. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. It's not a Git thing. It's a GitHub thing because, okay, right now we're using Git, but on a separate server. So this would not apply to that.
Well, the thing in Git, all repositories are kind of created equal. So like on your that remote thing there, right? There's no difference between the origin and the upstream from the point of the Git protocol. It's just two remote entities that it knows about.
Fair enough. So no, that's why also I'm not getting it fully. But no, in GitHub then you can have a fork. A fork, does that freeze the whatever? Can I still update? Put in.
You can still update it. What happens when you do the fork is that just GitHub itself remembers the relationship, that there is a relationship. And so I can see, and it means that I can see that you have forked it. So for example, you can see, if you look at my screen here, we can see that you're the only person who's forked this repo.
Okay.
So, yes. So you took a clone of it at that point. Neither of them are frozen. They're both complete Git repositories in their own right, and they can diverge. We can keep them the same. There's total flexibility there. The only thing that's kind of so outside of the Git world, in the GitHub, and I think GitLab and Bitbucket provide the same thing, is that there's now this hierarchical relationship has been added, but Git itself doesn't know anything about that hierarchical relationship. That's just layered on top by GitHub.
Okay, I see. So the fact that I have forked, how do I see that I had forked? Like from...
Yeah, so if you look at so there's nothing that you can't tell like from the command line where you are, although we've got upstream and origin, we could swap those around if we wanted. There's nothing on the command line that tells you that there is that you forked or you forked it. The thing that tells you, like, if you go to GitHub, VR Garage, AsyncVoter API client, you can see that it has this little subscript that says where it's forked from.
Okay.
So that's sort of how you know, and it's kind of it's GitHub who's storing that information, and in principle. So like you've got this funny thing. I did this diagram for Stella actually the other week. I wonder if I can quickly find it. Oh, I wonder if I can find it because I liked it, and it's because there's actually like at least 4 Git repositories that we're working with here. I wonder if I can quickly find it. Did I have 4? Oh, is it? That's probably the old one. That's GitHub Pong. That's not going to be the right diagram. I do it.
For Git repository, meaning the AsyncVoter API client, Slack command.
No. Even just the API client, like actual, like the way we talk about it, it makes it sound like there's only 2, right? There's the upstream and the origin, right? From your point of view.
Okay.
I guess it's going to be that's not going to be the right thing. Oh, I wish I could find this diagram. What did we use? Okay. Oh, maybe this one. Yeah, maybe this is it. Yeah, here. Right. That's sort of it. Is that basically like, so we've got GitHub here. So for example, if this repo here, right, is your fork of the Agile, AsyncVoter API client, right? Yep. You've also got a Git repo on your local machine.
Yep.
So that's 2 GitHub repos. And from the point of view of Git, they're both, equal in every way.
Yep.
Right? the Git that you've got locally on this Git repo, it knows that this one exists. The one in the cloud in GitHub doesn't know that the one on your machine exists. So these things can be completely synchronized, or they can be, you know, out of sync in different degrees. What's not shown in this diagram, I moved. So, like, this was me explaining to people about how, you know, there's different Bitbucket and so on. But so there might be this forking relationship, right? So we've got this. If I go and get another arrow here, so if this ends up being the forking relationship,
where the top one is the Agile Ventures
right,
repository and the bottom one is my own.
Yep, exactly. So we've got these two GitHub repos, and then we've got, for example, like, let's say that the laptop on the left here is yours, and the laptop on the right is mine. So, like, you and I have just been running the tests. Like, you've been running the tests in, you know, like my Git on your laptop in this Git repo. I've been running them in mine in my repo. My Git repo here happens to have been a clone of the Agile Ventures one, whereas yours is a clone of your fork.
Yes.
But so you can see how actually there's 4 different GitHub repos, 2 of which are being hosted by GitHub, one on your machine, one on my machine, but all of these can potentially diverge and be in or out of sync, depending upon how we use them.
Yep.
And then there's like the other repos, like anyway, it gets as crazy.
This is for each one of them, and then there's branches, of course, and
right, and then there's like branches within them, and this and the other. So we're in the situation now that you made a change to the develop branch,
and I pushed it up to my GitHub.
And you pushed it up to here, right? But so now when it's a fork, what you would usually do is, rather than push it directly to the kind of root repo, is that you open a pull request from your fork to the root repo.
Is pull request also a GitHub specific
thing? Yes, it is.
Otherwise, I would just, how would you do it in Git to either allow a clone to push stuff to you or not?
Yeah, and from Git's point of view, the Git doesn't bother with the permissions. There's no permission mechanism in Git, and so if you've got like you can have like multiple Git repos on your laptop, and you can use the same thing about remote to let them know about other repos on your laptop, and you then can push and pull and whatever. And as long as it can find the file path correctly, it can do it. It's GitHub itself that provides a permissions layer around these Git repos, and that's then, you know, so I can give your VR Garage user access to whichever VR GitHub repos I have permissions control over.
Go to GitHub. Let's see if I can.
But yeah, so yeah, if you navigate to GitHub, I don't know if it's on you're currently sharing. Yeah, there you go. And so yeah, if you go to your VR Garage AsyncVoter API client repo.
Okay.
Then here, it's a bit difficult to see, but you can just, like, middle of the screen, it says this branch is 1 commit ahead of Agile Ventures develop. And then there's, yeah, exactly, pull request. So if you click on that, it hasn't made the pull request yet. It'll show you the changes, so we can scroll down and check that we're changing, that you're, you know, making, this is what we want to change.
Yeah, yeah.
And if we're happy with that, scroll back up and there's the green button, create pull request.
Go.
And yeah, so you're still good here. You can see at the top here, it says base fork, Agile Ventures AsyncVoter API, base develop. So that's like that we're sending the pull, because you can like have a whole constellation of forks, and you can be sending pull requests to like other forks and blah, blah, blah. But here we're sending it up to the upstream, the roots thing. There's also, you can be doing pull requests across different branches, but we can see here that we're sending it from our develop branch on your fork to the root develop branch, and then here, so you can add a comment, this, that, and the other. Here, just put, I guess, go hit create pull request. There's, the title here is fully describing it. And so now, if we look at my screen and I look at the parent repo or the root repo, no, I've clicked on the wrong place. So that's the Agile Ventures one. We should now see a pull request that comes in from you, which can be reviewed. I can see the file change is exactly that. It's removing the quotes. I can then, anybody with the appropriate permissions, maybe you even have the permissions to do it. But anybody with the permissions can then click that, confirm the merge, and so now it will close the pull request, and that code will have been updated. We can check the package JSON there. We can see now, yes, the single quotes are removed. Now I still don't have it locally, but I can do git. So if I do git remote -v, we can see I don't have an upstream. I just have the origin to here. I can then do git pull origin develop, and then I should get the same change. Actually, I probably get a merge conflict because I had already made the change locally. So I'll stash that and
what
actually.
Stash mean?
Sorry, say again.
What does git stash?
That basically it puts any changes that you have locally that haven't been committed yet. It puts them in a little side stash, and then it's basically like a little trash can that you can put stuff in.
With the files trying to merge them, but you can go back to.
So I could now do git stash pop to pull that off there. It's like a handy place to store stuff. It will only stash stuff for files that have already been committed and are being tracked by Git. But it's a place to temporarily store local changes. If that makes any sense.
And then you pull origin develop. Did that have any conflicts? Or no? The stash puts them away. So
yeah, they were basically changes that I didn't need, but that rather than going and doing Command Z several times, because I had, when you made the change, I'd also, to check that it worked on my Mac, I had edited and removed the single quotes. But so from Git's point of view, that ended up being a dirty file. So I could have done git checkout. I could have done git checkout the package JSON to revert it.
Yeah.
In this context, it blocked the pull because it said you've got dirty. So it goes, please commit or stash them before you merge.
Uh-huh.
So if they were things actually that I edited the same file that I needed, I could have committed them and then pulled down, and then maybe I'd have had merge conflicts or whatever. But yeah, particularly if you've got lots of changes in various places and you're I was just playing with something and I don't really need it, but I might want it later, but I'm probably not. Then you can just do git stash.
Okay, thanks. Cool. And on my side,
say again.
On my side here on my laptop thing.
Yep.
Do I need to? I never kind of pull directly from the upstream, right? I pull from the origin, or do I pull from?
No, well, you more likely you pull from the upstream and you push to the origin.
Okay, so should I pull from the upstream? Really?
Well, you should generally. You don't need to now, because what we've done is at the beginning of the session. I mean, this is before you start work. If you're in this environment where you're contributing to open source projects and you're getting new day, before you start work on I'm going to try and fix this bug on an open source project, you should always pull from the upstream or pull from the origin if your origin is, if you're all working on the thing, because while you've been doing other stuff, the other changes from other members of the team may have come through. So you always want to make sure that you've got the latest changes before you start working on something. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. What I was thinking is from my laptop point of view.
Yes.
I pushed this to my origin. First.
Yes, you did. You did.
And then the origin pushed it or pulled a pull request on the upstream, but I don't really know from here.
No, there's no way that you'd know that from here, but and there's no way that you know that maybe 3 or 4 or 5 other people have done pull requests from their forks that have all gone into the upstream. So if you were starting afresh today, yeah, you might pull down from the upstream. In this case, because the only change that came through is one that you submitted, you already have that change locally. So you could try doing git pull upstream master now. You might, there's no harm.
The change is flagged with some ID that locates even the source branch. So it's exactly the change that I did here, that I pushed to origin, then origin kind of requests a pull from upstream,
Yes.
merged it in. So now if you look at the log or whatever in the upstream,
it will be the same.
Exactly the same merge, commit that I have
here.
here.
So it will, but basically when you created the commit here, it assigned it a unique ID. So
like I created it here.
Yeah, because you made the change here, and then you ran git commit -am.
Yeah.
And so at that point, exactly at that point, it made a unique ID, and
that carried through to all the other repositories.
And so now we've got, so you could try doing here git pull upstream master, but what it should say is like everything up to date, because it will detect that you already have. Oh no, sorry, not master, develop. Oh no. Yeah, try doing it with develop. I think there weren't any changes with the, it's a develop. And I may have kind of screwed it up there by having you pull from master first, but so I think they're interesting that it's done fast forward. Yeah, we should have done git pull upstream develop first. It's possible that we've now pulled in an extra thing from master, but yeah. But so if you do git log, you can see exactly what you've got and what's the latest commit and so on. But right. So what will have come in actually? What you didn't have is that you didn't have the. So when I merged the pull request, it created a new commit, which is the merge commit.
Yeah, no, that's what I was kind of expecting.
Okay, yeah, I'd forgotten about that, because we can do rebasing as well, and there's different ways to do pull requests merging, and the way we do it as standard on other projects now avoids the merge commit because it makes the history messy. But yeah, if we've done a merge commit, then that gets pulled in as that's now, sensibly that has to get pulled in onto your machine.
Wow, well, this was very helpful. So thanks so much.
Well, and we've got to the point, we've got the tests for the AsyncVoter API client working on both of our machines, and we're kind of up to date, and that's there. I guess if you go now to the AsyncVoter Slack command, and we'll probably have to finish in a minute, I guess we've got a question of the tests working there. I seem to remember, it's coming back to me now, that what Michael worked out is that we ended up having to add this special requester close. Like, the reason that the test was not working for this, and I don't think maybe did I not even check any of this in, because I remember it was like they were calling me for supper and so on. I think I've got this only thing, I
remember the keep open something.
Yeah, so I think we basically had this thing where, if I look at the test, gosh, and this is maybe what we should have been focusing on for the cleanup, but I've got the async Slack command. Where is the test? The test that we're focused on there is that we were doing all this stuff with updating the modules and going crazy and so on. So we've got index.js, AsyncVoter.js. Where are the tests? The tests are in test.js. And somewhere in here, we've got only. So we've got this thing here where.
I thought it was a keep open, just a line below.
No, the keep open is. We've got the keep open there. And then finally like request a close. And so yeah, we had this thing that, so this was posting to the remote server, and then
Close it.
it was like not waiting for the response from the remote server.
Yes, something
And
like
that, yeah. So we have here, I mean, I just ran the test here. And did we not even make the test work? So yeah, we finally maybe got to this point where we now were getting a response from the REST server, and that was where we stopped last time, because like we finally saw that came through.
so we said.
Yeah, so actually maybe what we sensibly should have been focusing on is
We
kind
should have been here a little earlier today so that we could have
clean this up. But it's still, it's very good to make sure that we're on the.
No, yes, it is. I know you're more busy than I am, but if some afternoon next week you want to like spend an extra half hour trying to move on from here, then you can ask me, and I'm happy. If you haven't got time, then we can leave it till next week.
Yeah. I'm just looking at this, and I'm trying to work out then the nature of the failure, because when it's net, like, even though we've got the response, I guess we've got to follow. That was the thing, as I was running this all from the debugger at one point.
Sorry, what does timeout? Which one is timing out?
Well, so we're using this. We're running specifically this one test of starting a voting session, and we've got various things going on here. I mean, I think I added all of these. If I remember, I added, like, I was going into the AsyncVoter API client, which is here, and updating and changing. Here we go, like, to log all this stuff and to improve the error messages. And so we've got, that's that URL here. So we're hitting the API test thing with this data, and then this is like, yeah, we're actually getting a response from the REST server that's there. Before then, we've got two different things here. Like, it's saying the super agent has a double callback bug. End was called twice, not supported in super agent, unhandled promise rejection, and so on. And then finally, I mean, this is like, so the test is running asynchronously, and it has a 2-second timeout. So if it doesn't wrap up within 2 seconds,
probably the errors above
are preventing it from
timeout eventually, because
yeah.
So I guess
the test.
Super agent. What's a super agent?
I think super agent is another. It's a library that's doing part of the HTTP request. I guess we've got a. That's funny actually here, because we've got like send, and then we've got end, and then we've got then, which seems inappropriate. Like, there's kind of I mean, I wonder if we even need this. I mean, I guess this is the keep open, but then we also need to. We kind of, yeah. Yeah, I'm just like rushingly getting my head back into the space. It was this keep open. Yeah, this was the thing that Michael very cleverly worked out. So we've got keep open. There we go. Then. I wonder if we can just, instead of having end, can we have then? I don't know if that's.
So look up end. What does end do in this?
I was wondering if we've got end in here. The to make the request and assert on its response, the end method can be used.
So it's like the first few compile a request and then end actually sends it out.
Well, it's funny because it's using send there as well. So this is, we've got examples there of end and done being used. Pass in the callback. We've got done being mentioned there. So I guess we've got this question of how do we use, like, can we use end in combination with keep open? So the keep open examples is just those two. Are there any other references to keep open in this repo? That's the request.js. Only in those places can I go and see it here. It's an example of it using keep open, not really.
Okay, cached request. No, there was a keep.
Yeah, there was a couple of them, but I think no, there was no more information than we like. So there's an example here, but again, it's doing the keep open. It's interesting here. It's got like, oh, that's interesting.
Closing within the end callback.
Yeah, no, that actually that could be it. So we've got requester. Now that's the fun. Like here, we've got a reference to requester there, but so in principle, like now this one. They do close and then they call done inside that.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting. So we could do,
instead of calling done at line 84, yes.
Yeah, and then have a function. Well, even could that be a like that, and then does that?
You want to call done with parameters. So maybe you either just pass done to it and it will be called with the two params. I think that's what you wanted to do. This will call done with no parameters.
Yeah, I mean, which is what we've always been doing. I didn't know we could pass it an error thing. So that seemed like a very sensible thing to do.
But there's error here.
Yeah. So we're just saying here, like the last thing, I mean, of course, the difficulties are all file and forget, but basically, yeah, once you've got to this point, you should be all right to close the requesting entity.
Can you go back to that code snippet you found on the web, just where it was calling?
I can, yeah. It's here, and I'll put it in the chat. I've been on the wrong screen. I'll put it in the chat so you...
No, I can see it here. Server close, function, no arguments. So that what you've done is correct. You're using the air from above.
Yep.
Okay, that's cool.
And it's still, I think I didn't have any positive, but okay, so this and this is saved, and I think there's less, we've got fewer errors.
That double end seems to have
gone. The double end has gone. It's now, it's saying here that we have an unhandled promise rejection.
This is like a warning, not really
yeah, that one says it's a deprecated. This one says unhandled promise rejection warning.
Okay, this happens. I've seen something similar.
Yeah, no, I mean, it may not be a, like you say, unhandled promise rejection warning. Cannot read properly. It should have undefined, though, on line 67. That implies that res is undefined at this point.
Is that so?
Well, look at here. We've got like cannot read property should of undefined.
Okay, so maybe we got an error, but before checking for error, we do the code that we would do if there were...
That's yeah, no, indeed. Yeah, so it's kind of, I mean, we could just comment out this lot and rerun and see if we see the error.
Yeah, we should still see the error, but
yep. Well, potentially it might come through. It's like it's still timing out. It's like not getting to done. So I mean, I sort of assume that we get to here. Like, I mean, I could do console log
error.
there.
Maybe write something as well. So
as well to say that this is like we're now in the then. I guess I changed it before. This was end.
Okay, yeah, then we want end.
So I maybe broke it by doing that. It's too many changes. Silly. In end. So still timing out. It gets into the end. The error is, so there's no error.
It's just timing out, though.
It's like timing out. I guess the other thing is, I mean, I could just put like a done or there. I mean, that was their syntax to say. I mean, this seems to be saying like you didn't call done. So now, yeah, I mean that's working. Okay, that seems sensible to cool down after you've closed it, but I don't think I care.
Yeah, but I guess that putting it where it was there, it should have called it strictly after the close operation ended, whereas
right, where it is here is not as good as it might cool done before this terminates.
Yeah, but I guess maybe we don't care. We're done with the test.
Yeah, and in fact here now it's passing.
So
yeah,
I mean, what happens if you try running it again and again, like a couple of times, just to it doesn't leave hanging connections that then.
Well, and I imagine what will happen is that it might leave hanging connections, but they'll kind of get cleared up ultimately. I mean, it's not clean programming. I mean, we could also just try it now again. I mean, maybe it was, we could also do, like they were using this syntax. And there is this like slight variation about what is, what this refers to, depending upon which syntax you use. So
maybe that
we could see there, but no, in this case, it doesn't call it. So I think we'll do this. So because that allows the test to pass. And I guess we will have to change all of them now to use this keep open operation is what is outstanding. And say again?
All of them have this issue that
I think many of them will. We're on a branch anyway. I think what I'm going to do is push this code up. I've got a couple of things to add to git ignore. You have to do like that. I might. Still. So index should get. Let's just get diffit here. Different version of knock. I've got it defaulting here to the test server, which seems more sensible. Okay, Q. So this is git commit -am. This is an acceptance test. I don't know. It is a round trip. Having a. Yeah, I guess it is. Test working. Need to add keep open to all tests. that hit test API. Git push origin 57. Okay, so yeah, I mean, you could pull out that branch and check that you get the same result, but I think I should probably stop for the day. I'm kind of pleased just to spend 15 minutes there to get. I don't like having, you know, like dirty code lying around that's not pushed to the repo, and that was good to make sure. I'm gonna lose the tests there. Yeah, that we kind of, having got it to work, we've now cleaned up it so that we have a way to make all of the tests work properly.
Yeah, at least we made an incremental step forward.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I continue to worry about is like the way that knock works and everything is that it doesn't, when we make a connection to the wrong place, it doesn't complain. So that brings us back again to the styles of testing. Like, do we test it just that it works bits of it internally, or do we try and test that it works with a complete round trip? But that's a conversation for next week, I think.
Okay. Well, Sam, thanks for the chat and for this Git lesson. And,
good stuff.
Yeah.
Have a great weekend, Paolo, and see you next week. Yeah.
Take care.
And I was going to say, probably the deep learning is going to be on Wednesday again next week.
Yes, that should work for me. It was just this particular Wednesday that we had to meet someone else, and Wednesday at what time?
There's the calendar. I'll make sure there's a calendar invite. It's going to be like 3:15 my time, and that's, you're in UTC plus 2, so 4:15 Rome time if you're UTC plus 2.
Sounds great. So I'll see you then.
Bye for now. Take care.
Bye.
Oh, did I tell you that we're reviewing the lecture on convolutional neural networks that mentions neocognitron?
Yes, I read the message. What number lesson is that? Like 6?
I think it's lecture 5.
Lecture 5. And both watch the video lecture 5, and also read a bit of the notes. I found
if you have time to read the notes, great. I mean, I'm going to focus on watching the video and then see where I get to. Yeah.
I'll try to watch the video as well sometime. Okay, cool. Thanks again, and talk to you soon.
Bye for now. Take care.